makes me sing. Thank God for mercy, counting my blessings.
All right, so you're on to Mamu with Jarvis, and this is the Midnight Sun experience. And as is our practice, we'll be looking at questions. We're looking at the questions, success mystery, and we'll So with our intro in place, let's get into the business of today. So today, what would we be looking at? Essentially today, we'll be looking at the NECO mathematics. We'll start off with the mathematics, and then just as we had said for other examinations, we had said that you can actually scale up or scale down some of these exams. You can scale them up, you can scale them down as the need may arise. So for the NECO mathematics, we expect 60 questions. We expect what? 60 questions. Now, it's important to understand how the NECO mathematics works today. In looking at this skeleton, I'll be using the 2023 NECO mathematics model to describe how this exam will work. So for NECO mathematics, the SSCE, NECO mathematics SSCE, you have 5 major areas captured. We have arithmetic, we have algebra, we have geometry, we have pure maths and calculus, then we have statistics and probability. I'll come again. You have arithmetic, you have algebra, you have geometry, you have pure maths and then calculus, and then you have statistics and what? Probability. So how is this structure? How are these questions broken down? For arithmetic, you have 15 questions. Now, please take note that my description here may be very subjective. Other teachers may do a little tweak because there are certain topics that we may have a bit of argument on. Topics like indices, topic like logarithm. There may be some bit of argument as to where should we place some of these topics. Do we place these topics as arithmetic, or do we place them as algebra? But for the purpose of my analysis, I have decided to class logarithm, and if I cite indices in this analysis, I decided to place it as what? Arithmetic. So we have arithmetic, 15 questions. We have algebra, 16 questions. We have geometry, 15 questions. We have pure maths and calculus, we have 5 questions. We have statistics and probability, we have 9 questions. Essentially, the statistics and probability will cover 5 questions of statistics and 4 questions for probability. Please take note of this point. From year to year, the emphasis will shift. Maybe some years you may have more of arithmetic or more of a particular aspect of arithmetic, but within the confines of this exam, I can safely say that this is what the structure would look like. Whether it goes a little above or a little below, this is what the structure will likely look like. All right, so having said that, let's go into take the areas one after the other. Let's take arithmetic, for instance. Arithmetic. So what are the areas to be expected? Remember I said that this is the skeleton, and in future installments, we'll go deep to analyze this. But today we'll just take it as at the surface level. So what are the topics we expect in arithmetic? Before I go into that, a quick reminder here is that NECO has started making the exams easier in terms of progression. By this I mean, you discover that maybe the questions from a particular area will be well handled before you start to handle topics from other areas. So let's, for instance, arithmetic would have been well handled here before you now go into maybe algebra. They always put in groups, so it's very easy for students to look at the exam questions and easily answer them. All right, so what are the topics we're expecting under arithmetic? We're expecting things like proportion and ratio. We're expecting things like number-based system. We're expecting things like decimal numbers, approximations, estimations. We're expecting things like sorts. We're expecting things like modular arithmetic. We're expecting things like logarithm. Remember I said I classed logarithm under this. We also have at least one question from compound interest. Sometimes they could set simple interest. We have sets. Set, you would have at least 2 to 3 questions. We have things like percentage error. You have one question from there. You have arithmetic, AP and GP, one question. Questions you could see from arithmetic. You are going to have one question from matrix. Now, sometimes we can class that as pure maths. Sometimes we can class that as what? Pure maths. So for the purpose of helping us understand better, I will leave that to be a pure maths topic. So those are some of the things we would see when we talk about what? Arithmetic. Now, when we come to algebra, what are the topics we are going to expect? One of the first topics you are going to see in algebra is graphs, linear, inequalities, graphs. You're going to have like three questions from graphs. You're going to have things like quadratic equation. You're going to have algebraic fractions, a host of others. If you pick the exam module here, it's not so far from what I've talked about. Quadratic, one simultaneous equation at least. You're going to have variation. You're going to have change of subject or formula. Those are some of the areas you're going to see under algebra. Then for geometry, when we come to break the topics properly, I will explain this better. For geometry, now under geometry, you'll be expecting 15 questions. Now, as different from the NECO BEC, when we talk about geometry in geometry in SSCE NECO exams, we will look at geometry from number 1, trigonometry, number 2, formal geometry. Now, then you have what I call circle geometry. Although technically we can treat that under formal geometry, but I'm going to separate them and I'm going to call it plane geometry and circle geometry, or formal geometry and circle geometry. There's a reason I'm doing this, because when we begin to go into the concepts deeper, I'm going to be showing a little of these differences so that you are clear in what you're doing. You're going to have formal geometry, you're going to have circle geometry, you're going to have trigonometry, you're going to have locus and construction. Sometimes it may not even be one question from there, but just to give you an idea of what the questions will look like and what to expect. So that's for geometry. Then we have what is called pure math and statistics. Now, there's a topic I mentioned earlier. That topic is called matrix. In 2023 NECO, it came as question number 16. Matrix. Now, matrix is classed under pure math and calculus. Now, what NECO does essentially is to bring in the element of additional math or further math to mathematics. There are certain topics now that are treated as what? Mathematics topics. So, one of such topics will be what they call matrix. Another important one will be what is called differentiation. We'll have integration. So essentially differentiation and integration. And for any exam, these questions usually come in from question 58 to the end. Like if you see question 58 of 2023 NECO math, you discover that integration was question number 58. Differentiation was question number 59, and an application of the concept as question number 60. So that gives you an idea of the kind of questions you're going to face, and usually you get about 5 of them. Like I promised, I'm going to do a 5-year analysis where I'm going to take different question papers, take the questions from there, and then do an average so that you have a mental picture of what you're going to have. If you check this year very closely, you discover that strangely enough did not set what is called indices. They didn't set indices at all. So maybe we may need to go through the theory to see what is that. And for teachers who are preparing students for this exam, I need you to go back and research and find out why that is. There was no question on indices. And please, you can check after this time and confirm if my assertion is wrong or right. There was no indices. Now, that does not mean indices is not an important question in this exam. It's very important and it's rare. I'm surprised that I'm not seeing not even one question under indices. Now, we come to the last one, which is called statistics and probability. Now, under statistics and probability, for 2023, we had 5 questions from statistics and we had 4 questions from probability. If you look at the question paper, what you notice is that under statistics, we had things like mean. We're told to look for mean. We are told to look for, there were 2 questions under mean. There was 1 question on that pie chart in which we were told to look for something on that pie chart and then to apply that into proportion, looking for percentage of a particular one. So this gives you a summary of what the NECO SSCE exam mathematics is all about. So in case you missed everything, I'll do a quick recap of this. Now the recap goes thus. In the NECO SSCE exam for mathematics, you have 15 questions under arithmetic, you have 16 questions under algebra, you have 15 questions under geometry, you have 5 questions under pure maths and calculus, and you have 9 questions under statistics and probability, which goes to show that there are 5 areas being tested under NECO mathematics for SSCE. I'm giving you a total of 60 questions. Take note that for WAEC, you usually would have 50 questions for the NECO. For WAEC, you have 50 questions for